The silence before the storm, the stars no longer welcomed humanity. 3 years had passed since the Battle of Cygnus Reach, the day the Terran Republic fell. Admiral Ilara Kane still remembered the screams that echoed through the comms as Earth's finest warships shattered like glass beneath the overwhelming firepower of the Galactic Council. 50,000 lives, gone in minutes. The Council had been clear in their message. Humanity was beneath them, unworthy of standing among the civilized stars. The survivors limped home in silence. The Council spared Earth from annihilation, but only to make an example. Humanity was banned from constructing military vessels, forbidden from colonizing beyond the Sol system, and subjected to quarterly inspections by Council enforcers. The galaxy watched as humanity's flags were lowered, their pride stripped away, their voice silenced. The great empires, Vraxis Imperium, the Keltheran Sovereignty, the Morvathi Collective, laughed at the audacity of the humans who once dared to challenge them. But laughter fades, and silence can be deceptive. Ilara Kane stood now in the observation deck of a station humanity wasn't supposed to have. It hung in the void beyond Pluto's orbit, cloaked by gravitational shadows and stealth fields scavenged from wrecked Council ships. Around her, engineers and soldiers moved with quiet purpose. Their uniforms bore no insignia. Their ships carried no names. On paper, they didn't exist. The station was called Haven's Edge, though most just called it the Forge. It was here that humanity's desperation had been hammered into something new. Something terrifying. Through the reinforced viewport, Ilara watched it take shape. The Vanguard, 2 kilometers of angular black metal, bristling with weapon systems that shouldn't exist. Its hull was forged from salvaged Vraxis composite armor, fused with human ingenuity and desperation. Its reactors pulsed with energy configurations reverse-engineered from captured Keltheran cores. Every system, every weapon, every shield emitter had been stolen, adapted, or invented in the shadows. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" The voice belonged to Dr. Marcus Chen, the Republic's head of experimental warfare. He stepped beside Ilara, his reflection ghosting across the viewport. His eyes were tired, but his smile was fierce. "She's a declaration of war," Ilara replied quietly. "Good." Marcus didn't look away from the ship. "They wanted us silent. They wanted us broken. Let's show them what humans do when you back us into a corner." Ilara's jaw tightened. She thought of her daughter, buried on Earth beneath a sky that no longer belonged to them. She thought of the pilots who died at Cygnus Reach, screaming her name as their ships burned. She thought of the Council delegate who stood on Earth's surface and told humanity to know their place. "When do we launch?" she asked. 2 weeks. Final systems integration, crew briefings, and one last supply run. Marcus hesitated. "Ilara, you know what this means. If we strike, there's no going back. The Council will retaliate. Earth could burn." "Earth is already burning," Ilara said, her voice cold. "Just slowly. This way at least we burn on our feet." Marcus nodded. He knew better than to argue with her. Ilara Kane had lost everything at Cygnus Reach. She had nothing left to lose, and that made her the most dangerous person in the galaxy. Far beyond human space, on the Council's central military station Apex Prime, High Admiral Tarvok of the Vraxis Imperium reviewed reports with growing irritation. The Vraxis were a proud species, towering, four-armed warriors whose empire had conquered half the known galaxy. Tarvok's career had been built on crushing rebellions, and he viewed humanity's defeat as one of his finest achievements. But lately, something was wrong. 3 freighters missing in the outer veil, his aide reported. A smaller Vraxis officer with nervous energy. No distress signals. No debris, just gone. Tarvok's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Pirates. Keltheran raiders, most likely. Irrelevant. There's more, sir. A patrol wing near the Turthos sector. 6 ships failed to report in. And a mining colony on Hestros 7 went silent 2 days ago. Tarvok's eyes narrowed. Keltheran? No claim of responsibility. No evidence. It's as if they vanished. Tarvok leaned back in his command throne. The Keltheran Sovereignty and the Morvathi Collective were always testing boundaries, probing for weakness. But this felt different. Coordinated disappearances across multiple sectors, all near the borders of former human space. Increase patrols along the human quarantine zone, Tarvok ordered, and send a surveillance drone into their system. I want to know what those primitives are doing. His aide saluted and left. Tarvok returned to his reports, dismissing the thought. Humans were broken. They had neither the will nor the capability to threaten anyone. Whatever was happening, it wasn't them. He was wrong. Aboard Haven's Edge, Alara stood before a gathering of 200 souls, the crew of the Vanguard. They were the best humanity had left. Pilots who survived Cygnus Reach, engineers who rebuilt reactors from scrap, soldiers who refused to accept defeat. Some were young, barely out of training. Others were veterans with scars that told stories of loss. Alara looked into their faces and saw her own reflection. Rage, grief, and beneath it all, hope. 3 years ago, they told us we were finished, she began, her voice steady. They told us to bow our heads, surrender our dreams, and accept our place beneath their boots. They wanted us to forget who we are. She paused, letting the words hang in the air. But we are human. We don't forget. We don't forgive. And we sure as hell don't bow. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. The galaxy thinks we're silent. They think we're afraid. Let them think that. Because when we strike, they'll learn the truth. Silence isn't surrender. It's the moment before the storm. Alara's voice rose, filling the room. We are the Vanguard, and we are humanity's answer. The room erupted in cheers, raw, defiant, alive. Alara felt it too, a fire rekindling in her chest. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and alone. But they were human, and humans don't hide. They strike. Ghosts in the void. The Vanguard slipped through the void like a predator stalking prey. Alara Kane stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back, watching the holographic display flicker with distant starlight. The ship's stealth systems hummed softly, experimental tech that bent sensor waves around the hull, rendering the Vanguard invisible to conventional scanners. It was humanity's greatest advantage. The galaxy didn't know they were coming. Status? Alara's voice was calm, but her crew knew better. Beneath that composure was a coiled spring, ready to unleash hell. All systems green, Admiral. Lieutenant Rivas reported from the tactical station, stealth field holding at 98% efficiency. No contacts within scanning range. Navigation, confirm our position. We're 3 light hours from the Turthos sector, the navigator replied. Right on the edge of Raxus patrol routes. Alara nodded. The Turthos sector was a minor trade corridor, lightly defended but strategically valuable. It was also the site of one of the disappearances that had the Council nervous. They didn't know it yet, but that disappearance hadn't been an accident. It had been a test. 2 weeks ago, a small strike team from Haven's Edge had ambushed a Vraxis patrol wing, 6 light cruisers crewed by arrogant warriors who thought themselves invincible. The humans had struck from the shadows, disabled their communications, and torn them apart with precision boarding actions. No survivors. No evidence, just silence. The galaxy was beginning to notice the pattern, but they still didn't understand. They couldn't imagine that the broken, defeated humans had become something new. Dr. Chen, how are the weapon systems? Alara asked. Marcus Chen looked up from his console, his face illuminated by streams of data. The railguns are calibrated and ready. Plasma lances are at full charge. And the Shrike missiles, he grinned. Let's just say the Council is going to have a very bad day. The Shrike missiles were humanity's masterpiece. Swarm munitions with adaptive AI, capable of evading point defense and coordinating strikes with terrifying efficiency. Each missile was small, fast, and deadly. And the Vanguard carried 3,000 of them. Good, Alara said, because today we're making a statement. On Apex Prime, High Admiral Tarvok was no longer dismissing the disappearances. 18 ships, he growled, his forearms clenched into fists. 18 ships in 3 weeks. And you're telling me we have no idea who's responsible? His intelligence officer, a slender Morvathi with silver scales, spoke carefully. The pattern suggests a coordinated campaign, High Admiral. But there's no evidence. No debris fields, no distress signals, no survivors. Then find survivors, Tarvok roared. I don't care if you have to tear apart every asteroid in that sector. Someone is attacking Council ships, and I want to know who. There is one theory, sir. Tarvok's eyes narrowed. Speak. The Morvathi hesitated. The disappearances all occurred near the former human quarantine zone. Some believe the humans. Tarvok's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Impossible. We destroyed their fleet. They have no military capability. With respect, High Admiral, we haven't conducted an inspection of their system in 6 months. It's possible that they've rebuilt an entire navy in secret? Don't insult my intelligence. Tarvok waved a dismissive hand. But fine. Send a battle group into their space. 20 ships. If the humans have somehow grown bold, we'll remind them of their place. The Morvathi bowed and left. Tarvok returned to his throne, confident in his assessment. Humanity was beneath concern. But deep down, in a place he refused to acknowledge, doubt began to stir. The Vanguard drifted in the void, waiting. Alara watched the tactical display as the Vraxis battle group appeared on sensors, 20 warships in tight formation, arrogant and predictable. They were heading toward the Sol system, their course a direct line of intimidation. The Council wanted to remind humanity of their helplessness. Instead, they were about to learn a different lesson. Range? Alara asked. 200,000 kilometers in closing, Rivas reported. They still haven't detected us. Good. Weapons prep firing solution, target their flagship and lead escorts. I want overwhelming force on the first strike. Aye, Admiral. Alara felt the familiar weight settle over her, the calm before violence. She thought of Cygnus Reach, of watching her ships burn, of hearing the Council's laughter as they dictated terms. That memory fueled her now, sharp and cold. All hands, battle stations, she announced, her voice echoing through the ship. Today, humanity reminds the galaxy who we are. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Weapons charged, shields hummed to life, and the Vanguard's reactors flared with barely contained power. The ship was ready, hungry. Admiral, we're in optimal firing range. Alara took a breath, then another. She let the moment stretch, savoring it. Decloak, she said. And fire everything. The Vanguard tore through the veil of invisibility like a vengeful god. Aboard the Vraxis flagship Eternal Wrath, Commander Dalrix was reviewing patrol schedules when his sensor officer screamed, "Contact! Massive contact bearing 027, it just appeared." The words died as the Vanguard's first salvo arrived. 3 railgun rounds, each traveling at a significant fraction of light speed, punched through the flagship's shields like they didn't exist. The first round sheared through the bow, vaporizing the forward batteries. The second tore into the engineering deck, detonating reactors in a cascade of white fire. The third struck the bridge. Dalrix had 1 second to scream before oblivion claimed him. Around the flagship, 2 escort cruisers erupted in flames as plasma lances carved through their hulls. Then came the Shrikes, 300 missiles screaming out of the dark, weaving through point defense fire with inhuman precision. They struck in waves, overwhelming defenses, detonating inside hangars and reactor cores. In 30 seconds, the Vraxis battle group lost 8 ships. The survivors panicked. Their formations broke apart as captains tried to locate the attacker. But the Vanguard was already moving, repositioning with terrifying speed. More railgun fire. More missiles, the void filled with explosions and desperate transmissions. Unknown contact, we're under attack. Shields failing, it's human. The ship is human. How is it? Silence. Within 3 minutes, the battle was over. 20 Vraxis warships reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The Vanguard hung in the void, untouched, its weapons still glowing with residual heat. On the bridge, Alara watched the tactical display go dark. Her face was expressionless, but inside, something fierce and ancient roared with satisfaction. "Damage report?" she asked. "Shields at 91%, hull intact, 0 casualties. Good. Navigation, set course for Haven's Edge. We're done here." As the Vanguard turned away from the carnage, Alara allowed herself a small, cold smile. The galaxy had forgotten what humanity was capable of, but they were about to remember. Silence was over. The storm had begun. The fire that answers the message reached Apex Prime 6 hours after the massacre. High Admiral Tarvok watched the transmission in stunned silence. The holographic recording showed the battle from the perspective of a dying Vraxis cruiser, the Vanguard emerging from nothingness, its weapons blazing, 20 proud warships reduced to wreckage in minutes. The transmission cut off as the cruiser's reactor detonated. The silence in the command center was suffocating. "Replay it," Tarvok ordered, his voice barely above a whisper. They did, and again, and again. Each time, the result was the same. Humanity, broken, defeated humanity, had fielded a warship unlike anything the Council had seen. Fast, deadly, efficient, terrifying. "Impossible," Tarvok murmured. "We destroyed their fleet. We inspected their facilities. They couldn't have—" "They did," the Morvathi intelligence officer interrupted, his voice grim. "Analysis confirms that. Ship uses composite technology, Vraxis armor, Keltheran reactors, human design philosophy. They've been scavenging our wrecks, reverse engineering our systems, and we never noticed." Tarvok's mandibles clicked furiously. "Then we crush them. Now. Assemble the first armada, 200 ships. We'll reduce their system to rubble. With respect, High Admiral, we should consider a diplomatic approach. If humans have this level of capability—" "Diplomatic?" Tarvok's roar echoed through the chamber. "They just slaughtered 20 council ships. They violated every term of their surrender. There will be no diplomacy, only annihilation." But, even as he spoke, Tarvok felt something he hadn't experienced in decades. Fear. News of the battle spread through the galaxy like wildfire. On Kelthar Prime, the Sovereignty's High Council convened an emergency session. Holographic displays showed the Vanguard's attack from every angle, analysts arguing over its capabilities. Some called for immediate retaliation, others urged caution. "This changes everything," Councillor Vresh said, his scaled face tight with worry. "If humans can build one ship like this, they can build more. We underestimated them." "Then we correct our mistake," another councillor snapped. "We join the Vraxis assault. Together we end this threat." But in the shadows of the chamber, a few councillors exchanged nervous glances, because deep down, they all knew the truth. Humanity had been pushed to the edge, and instead of breaking, they'd become something dangerous. The Morvathi collective was less subtle. Their response was immediate. Deploy border fleets, reinforce defensive positions, and wait. The Morvathi were patient. They would see how this played out before committing to war. Throughout the galaxy, smaller species watched with fascination. Some whispered in admiration, others trembled, but all of them understood. The humans were back, and they were angry. Aboard the Vanguard, Alara Kane stood in her quarters, staring at a photograph. It showed her daughter, smiling, standing in front of Earth's Capitol building before the war. Before the fall. Before everything shattered. Alara traced the image with her fingertips, her expression unreadable. A knock on the door broke the silence. "Come in." Dr. Marcus Chen entered, carrying 2 glasses and a bottle of something amber. "Thought you could use this," he said, pouring them each a drink. "We just kicked a hornet's nest. The Council is going to come at us with everything." "I know." Alara accepted the glass but didn't drink. "That's what I'm counting on." Marcus frowned. "Alara, we have one ship, they have thousands. Even with the Vanguard's advantages, we're not trying to win a war, Marcus." Alara finally met his eyes. "We're trying to show them that we can't be erased, that humanity doesn't disappear just because it's convenient for them. And if they destroy us, if they burn Earth, then we burn bright enough that the galaxy never forgets." Alara's voice was steel. 3 years ago, they humiliated us. They made us kneel. But we're not kneeling anymore. Even if we lose fighting. And that matters. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he raised his glass. "To humanity, then. Stubborn, reckless, and too damn angry to die quietly." Alara clinked her glass against his. "To humanity." The Vraxis First Armada assembled in the Cygnus sector, 200 warships representing the full might of the Imperium. Dreadnoughts the size of cities, carrier groups bristling with fighters, cruisers armed with weapons capable of shattering moons. High Admiral Tarvok commanded from the super dreadnought Eternal Dominion, his flagship and the pride of the Vraxis Navy. Standing on the bridge, surrounded by holographic displays and the hum of power, he felt invincible again. "All ships report ready." "Hi, Admiral," his second-in-command announced. "Good. Set course for the Sol system. Maximum speed." Tarvok's voice was cold. "When we arrive, I want every human installation destroyed. Every ship, every station. Leave nothing but ash." The Armada began to move, a wall of metal and fury accelerating toward humanity's home. But in the void between stars, the Vanguard was already waiting. Alara watched the Vraxis fleet on long-range sensors, her expression calm. "They're coming in hard and fast," Rivas reported. 200 contacts, multiple Dreadnought-class signatures. "Expected," Alara said. "What about the others?" "Our scout drones confirm Keltheran reinforcements are en route. Another 100 ships. They'll arrive 12 hours after the Vraxis, so we're outnumbered 300 to 1. Alara almost smiled. "Good, I'd hate for this to be too easy." Marcus looked at her like she'd lost her mind. "Alara, we can't fight those numbers. Even the Vanguard, we're not fighting them, Marcus." Alara turned to face the bridge crew. "We're making them bleed. Every ship we take down is one less they can use to threaten Earth. Every minute we keep them engaged is another minute our people have to prepare." She activated the shipwide comm. "All hands, this is Admiral Kane. In a few hours we're going to face the largest enemy fleet ever assembled against humanity. The odds are impossible. The Council expects us to run, to hide, to beg for mercy." Alara's voice hardened. "But we are Terran. We don't beg, we fight. And when they come for us, we'll show them what happens when you corner a species with nothing left to lose." The crew erupted in defiant cheers, and Alara felt it, the connection, the fire, the unbreakable will that defined her species. "Prepare for battle," she ordered, "and make every shot count." The Vraxis Armada dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Sol system, weapons charged and shields raised. Tarvok expected to find a broken species cowering behind their homeworld. Instead, he found the Vanguard waiting in open space. One ship, alone, unafraid. "That's it?" Tarvok's second-in-command said, disbelief clear in his voice. "One ship?" "It's bait," Tarvok growled. "There must be more. Scan the entire system. Find their fleet." "Sir, scans show no other military vessels. Just the one." Tarvok stared at the holographic display, his mind racing. It didn't make sense unless— "They're insane," he whispered. "They think they can fight us with one ship." "Orders, sir?" Tarvok's mandibles clicked. "Destroy it. All ships, open fire. I want that vessel reduced to atoms." The Vraxis Armada unleashed hell, hundreds of energy weapons and missile barrages converging on the Vanguard's position. The void lit up with deadly light, but when the fire cleared, the Vanguard was gone. Alara watched the tactical display as the Armada's formation shifted, confusion rippling through their ranks. "Stealth field holding," Rivas reported. "They lost track of us." "Good. Weapons. Target their command ship. Full alpha strike." The Vanguard decloaked 5,000 kilometers behind the Eternal Dominion, and before the Vraxis could react, 3 railgun rounds tore into the Super Dreadnought's engines. The ship lurched, its shields flaring as secondary explosions rippled through its hull. "Recloak and reposition," Alara ordered. "Keep moving. Never let them pin us down." The Vanguard vanished again, and the Vraxis Armada erupted into chaos. Ships fired at shadows, colliding with each other in their panic. The humans struck again, missiles screaming out of the dark, plasma lances carving through cruisers, railgun fire punching through shields. It was guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale, and humanity was winning. Hours passed. Then days. The Vanguard danced through the fleet like a ghost, striking and vanishing, bleeding the Armada slowly. Tarvok watched in impotent rage as his forces dwindled. 30 ships lost, then 50, then 100. The humans were relentless, surgical, impossible to predict. "Pull back," he finally roared. "Retreat to defensive positions." But the damage was done. The mighty Vraxis Imperium had been humiliated by a single human ship, and across the galaxy, every species watched. When the Keltheran reinforcements arrived, they found the Vraxis Armada in disarray. And when they tried to engage the Vanguard, they met the same fate. Ambushes, hit-and-run strikes, death from the void. Finally, after weeks of fighting, the Council fleets withdrew. The humans had won. Not through superior numbers or firepower, but through sheer unbreakable will. Alara stood on the Vanguard's bridge, exhausted but alive. Around her, Earth's sky glowed with the light of a new dawn. "Admiral," Riva said quietly, "incoming transmission." "It's from the Galactic Council." Ilara straightened. "Put it through." The hologram shimmered, revealing a council delegate, the same one who had stood on Earth and told humanity to know their place. "Admiral Kane," the delegate said, his voice carefully neutral. "The Council wishes to renegotiate the terms of your surrender." Ilara's smile was sharp. "We don't surrender. Not anymore. If the Council wants peace, they'll recognize humanity as equals, full rights, full sovereignty. Or we keep fighting." The delegate hesitated. Then slowly he nodded. "Agreed." The transmission ended and the bridge erupted in cheers. Ilara closed her eyes, feeling the weight lift from her shoulders. They had done it. Against impossible odds, humanity had reclaimed its place among the stars, and the galaxy would never forget.